Hello there, ATS EVS 533 students. Dr. John Schrage here. We're on the first lecture, the first module of our course. And I want to, first of all, thank you for your patience with all of this and getting this all set up. It turns out that you guys all have really interesting and complex schedules, as do I for that matter, and that makes it work best that actually we're going to just do this course completely online. And I have a lot of experience with that. Maybe some of you have even taken some of my classes where we've done it this way, and it works fine. We have lots of ways to make sure that this is still a great experience for you, and in some ways a better experience, but you get all the benefits of a traditional classroom. We're going to make this work. Now, what you do, of course, do on the first day of any semester is you go over the syllabus. Let me just tell you that the syllabus is available to you on Blue Line, of course. By now, you've probably even seen it. And let's just go over it real quick here. Obviously, then things like time and date and the classroom for this course are not applicable to this semester because we're going to be doing this completely on time. Here's my name and my contact information. In general, you're going to find that if you work with my Gmail address, you're going to get faster response times. I have lots of trouble keeping the app on my phone and my tablet and so on working with Creighton's system. You may have found that to be the case too. I'll get it. I mean, I just have to actually go and check my Creighton email. I don't get notifications quite the same way. Anyway, so you can also contact me on Skype. There's my Skype handle. It's also the same one I use for Google Hangouts and so on. You'll be seeing more about that. Or you guys can just call me. It's okay. Now, don't call me like in the evening or at night or something like that, but if you've got questions during the day, you can call me. Worst case scenario, we'll have to, if I'm busy, I'll be glad to just tell you, hey, let's schedule, can I talk to you in 20 minutes or something like that, and it'll be fine. We're going to make all this work. And so, of course, the office is not applicable. But honestly, as we look at all this stuff here about all these different about office hours, I will keep 9:30 to 10:30 every day, Central Time, open for you guys. But honestly, it's not really going to be a big problem, okay? If you need to get a hold of me, there's going to be lots of mechanisms for you to do it. It's not really going to be a problem. This course is run completely through the Blue Line page, as you'll see. And the only part that's actually handled kind of in person is the exams. The exams are not in Blue Line. They are on paper. And we'll talk more about them as we get closer. But basically, you're going to go, it'll either be to the physics front office or the biology front office. And the administrative assistant will set you up with the quiz, with the exams. And you'll take them on paper, and then she'll scan them and send them to me. But that's the only part of it, the course, that's actually handled like in a person kind of way. This business of like the course description and the course topics, honestly, we just got this right off of the registrar's website. It's not exactly, it's something that in theory has to always be on a syllabus, but I mean in practice I'm not sure this is anything all that exciting for you. Do always keep in mind the registrar's website, which has information about things like the last date to drop or to change to audit. I'm not encouraging you to drop or change it to audit or anything like that. I'm just saying be aware of that, okay? That is always something, you know, to know about those dates. Same with like if you're a graduating senior, you probably need to be following what's going on the registrar's website for the deadlines for things like filing for a degree and so on. Our course here that we're going to be doing this semester, as you probably know if you watch the Welcome to the Course video, consists of 4 modules, each of which has a different theme and different objectives and so on. Broadly speaking, if we wanted to have about the objectives for the course, one thing is I want you to understand, particularly with regard to this first module, is that we're going to be talking about the different systems that are in place that we use to gather observations to monitor climate. Now, this is going to be probably our most descriptive module. Okay, there's really no math to speak of in this module or anything like that. Not that there's a ton of math in this course in general, but you know, there's not really even a lot of equations or anything like that to be like aware of or anything like that. We're talking about like the systems that we use with satellites, the systems that we use to monitor sea surface temperature, the systems that we use to monitor sea surface height or glaciers or all that kind of thing. We're also going to be talking in this module about paleoclimate, climate of the past, and how we know about these systems and so on. As we move into the second module, we're going to be learning more about like the fundamentals of radiative processes and the energy balance that drives our current climate and how we're changing that about future climates. This is going to involve understanding the radiation laws and so on at a somewhat higher level than you did if you took the courses like ATS 105 or the 113 Introduction to Atmospheric Science courses. But again, we're not likely to be like plugging a lot of numbers in there. I mean, I know you can plug numbers into your calculator. It's more about understanding the equations. What are they telling us? How do we get this information, etc. After spring break, we're going to be coming back and talking about like the models and the scenarios used by the IPCC to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change to understand our climate system and so on. And finally, in the last part of the course, we're going to talk about the possible outcomes of climate change and what we can do about it and how are we going to adapt and how are we going to mitigate and so on. Just kind of going forward here, I mentioned the IPCC. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is the organization that created the so-called Fifth Assessment Report, and that is going to be our textbook for the course. It is not something you buy, it's something that you access online, and the link I'll show you is available on Blue Line, and you can get the document either. It was one giant download of like a 1,800 page document. No, we're not reading 1,800 pages, but I mean, the whole thing is huge. Or you can download it like chapter and chapter by time, which probably would be faster and easier to work with and so on. But it's just something you access online. Other things will be provided to you as like things I scan from other textbooks and so on, just to make sure we're all clear about what's going on about these other topics that aren't necessarily addressed that well in the IPCC report. Basic classroom policies, I want you to just go through all this at some point. You know, things like attendance and so on don't really apply in an online course. I do take academic dishonesty very seriously, but again, I'm not anticipating all that much of that kind of thing in a class like this. Almost all of your grade comes from discussions, which can't really be faked, and the paper tests that you take in the classroom take, you know, in person. And so as a consequence, I'm not really anticipating a lot of academic dishonesty, but if you want to know what the policies are, it's over here. This didn't render all that well with the PDF here, but again, late items like taking quizzes late or contributing to discussions late, there is a penalty associated with that. There's no business, again, it just copied this from a template from Creighton, so there's no business of like classes being canceled when it's an online class. Obviously, if something happens like some giant, you know, internet failure, we can work around that kind of thing. Again, here is just the basic outline of the course. We've talked about most of these ideas already, the basics of what we're going to be doing in each of the 4 modules or units of the course over the course of the semester. Grading criteria. When you take the tests in the course are a mix of objective elements like multiple choice, true, false, things like that, that you either got it right or you got it wrong. And then about half the points come from like short essay questions, not so short essay questions, and so on. And the university recommends that we provide some kind of guideline as to like have a sense of how do we grade them, okay? And so you want to probably review this just to kind of get a sense of, oh, I see, if I don't actually use complete sentences with proper grammar, punctuation, and spelling, I'm going to lose points? Yes, you are, okay? This isn't a certified writing course, but we're adults, and you need to write in a way consistent with professional communication. That's also the case with the online discussions that we're going to be participating in. You can't just sort of write in forms of emoji and bad spelling and stuff and not expect to lose some points. The university requires that we have a grading scale posted in the syllabus. It certainly won't be more strict than the one I provided on here. In practice, I don't have a preconceived idea like, oh, I'm sorry, you have an 89, therefore you can't get an A. It's more a matter of it won't be more strict than this. But it could, of course, be curved or scaled or whatever. Just to help you know how the grades come, there are 4 exams in the course. 3 of them are worth 15 points each, and the final one, which is slightly cumulative, is worth slightly more. I don't think these adds up to, sorry, it doesn't quite add up to 100%. I think the final should be 20%, not 25%. I didn't realize I did the math wrong there. So about 65% of your total grade comes from those paper exams, with 35% coming from some mixture of the online discussions that we're going to be talking about shortly, and the quizzes. The quizzes are little short things, 4, 5, 6 questions that you answer after you do each of the readings that are basically just a way that I verify that you actually did the readings, okay? And they're done on Blue Line. They're just objective little things you answer right there in Blue Line. And that's all there is to the syllabus. You know, in terms of the course, that's not a tremendously complicated document. Let's actually go and take a look at how everything works on Blue Line. I don't actually have it in the published mode yet, so it might look slightly different from what you are seeing when you view this lecture. But up here at the top, the first module of the course, well, the first module as it's posted up here, is that welcome to our course type thing. It has introduction to the course, which has like some videos and some objectives of the course and so on. There's like a faculty biography page that has some cute pictures of my kids and some information about like where I went to school and where all I've worked and so on. There's an information there about how we don't actually have a required textbook. There's the basic schedule of the courses and how we compute grades. Some boilerplate stuff from the university about like course policies for online courses and so on. There's Creighton's pre-made little video about an orientation about Blue Line. If you're not familiar with Blue Line, you know, don't feel like you're very comfortable with it, you'll learn more about it by going to there. Here's the actual PDF file of our syllabus, if that's helpful for you at any time. And perhaps most importantly of all these documents in here, that's where you find the calendar. The calendar for the course is certainly very important. It's going to help you keep track of all these deadlines. Because keep in mind, you've got to stay on track. That is the main way things go wrong for students in online classes, is they fall behind, or they start missing deadlines, or whatever. Get the calendar, put those dates into your Google Calendar, or print the thing out and put it on your refrigerator with a magnet. I don't care how you do it. Get the calendar and make sure you understand when everything is due. Now, up here in Blue Line, this is also where you'll find the link to the IPCC 5th Assessment Report. Again, this is our primary textbook for the course, although you'll have a number of other readings and so on. But if you actually go to the IPCC page, the 5th Assessment Report was actually a set of 4 main documents, each of which is like 1,000 pages or something crazy like that. We're actually primarily working with the one that's called the Physical Science Basis for Climate Change. And so that's where this takes you when you follow this link. And like, for example, for Lecture 1B, which is the next lecture you're going to be doing, you're going to be doing readings from Chapter 1. And so you can actually download the whole giant thing. I don't know where it is in here exactly, but it's probably easier to just go and download Chapter 1, and you can either look at it just by getting the chapter. Yeah, you have to do it like that, and you follow it here, and there you go. And so, like, I think in this lecture here, you do pages like 119 to 123 or something. Notice that when I give you the page numbers here, I am giving you the page number as it's shown on the bottom, you know, on the page itself. I realize that that is page 1 of this 40-page document for Chapter 1, but we're reading pages, page 119 to 123. And that way, if you downloaded, you know, the whole book or something like that as one big PDF that you keep on your thumb drive or whatever, you have the same page numbers as everybody else. Use these page numbers. If I say 119 to 123, that's what I'm talking about. All right. So anyway, that's where you get most of those documents right there. And let's see here. Back up here for a second. All right. Here's Module 1. Again, I don't have it published yet to Blue Line, so it looks a little different than what you're going to be seeing. But I mean, this is basically what the structure is. Every time we start a new module, there is a welcome page that has a little video where I give you kind of some hints and some overview of how all this puts together, and then some objectives and so on that are necessary to help you understand how do you know how you're doing on this module. And then each of the lectures and online discussions are all put here in order. So like right now you're on 1A. And I think it's by tomorrow night I'd like you to participate in Discussion 0. Discussion 0 is just sort of the introduce yourself discussion. I just want to get to know everybody, where you're from, what year are you, what track are you in the environmental science curriculum. Tell me something interesting about you, just so I can kind of keep track. Oh yeah, you're the guy who's in a band, or you're the one who likes skydiving, or whatever. I mean, just so that I know something about you. Now, each of these online lectures, let me go ahead and just use 1B as an example here. Here's how a typical lecture in this course is going to work. Now, like it says right here, Lecture 1B is due by Tuesday, January 17th at, they're always due at the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. Okay, so the first thing you would do on any given lecture is do the readings. In this case, it's just 4 pages from the IPCC report. That shouldn't be so hard. You just go up there, get that link, go read that, whatever. Step 2, complete the quiz. Most of the lectures will have a quiz associated with them that are basically just questions you won't get right if you didn't do the reading. They are often as little as like 4 questions or something like that. It's not that big of a deal. You'll follow the link on Blue Line. It'll take you to that quiz or whatever, and then you're done. You will have to navigate back in Blue Line to get back to this page after that. I don't know how to make it go back automatically when you're done with the quiz. Then, you're going to get the handout for the lecture. I make it available to you in 4 different formats because in my experience, no matter if I only put it in fewer than that, somebody it doesn't work for. And so you can either get it as like a PDF handout. Let me see if I can make this load real quick here. Some of these are kind of large and they might take a long time for me to open. Let's see, let's open this guy. Not sure if this is going to work. Anyway, Yeah, it's just a PDF handout of I think it's 6 slides per page. That might be something that you like. There's actually 2 different versions of the PDF handout, depending on what, you may have font problems if you download the one that says possible font problems. It has to do with 2 different ways of exporting the fonts in PDF format. And then there's 2 different versions of the PowerPoint as well. Again, sometimes people like to actually have the actual PowerPoint itself. That way they can print it 1 slide per page, or they can print it 3 slides per page, or they can just look at it on the screen, or whatever they want. So it's up to you. Choose one of those ways to get the handout. Now, if you haven't actually been in one of my classes before, I got news for you. I make way too many PowerPoint slides, okay? A typical one for a lecture might have 100 slides. Okay, so I mean they're going to take some, a stack of paper if you're going to print them. I don't know what the right strategy for you is as to whether for you it's best to have paper copies, or if you like to look at it on the screen, or how. I leave it to you to know your own study skills at this point in your education. When you are all finally done, you got the handouts on, it's time to actually watch the lectures. Now, I have always posted it in 2 different places. That way, if one computer or another is down, you can always get it to another. So I have the videos on a web server at Creighton, and I have them posted on the server that's here in my house. Let me just use the one at Creighton for right now, but the pages look exactly the same. So this happens to be lecture 1B that I'm looking at right here on the screen right now. And what you're going to do here is you watch this video as part of the lecture. And what actually happens here is it's broken up to be more like a traditional classroom experience. So like I talk for a few minutes, and then I pose you a question in the video. And in the video here, at the end of the video there, like, so let's say I've been talking like for 5 minutes or something. There'll be a question. In this case it says, who established the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change? And there's 4 choices here. And once you've made it through that 5 minutes or whatever the video, you should know the answer to that, and you'll click on it. And let me just try clicking on one. And it says, oh no, sorry, that's not the right answer. And then you can watch this little video that's typically about 30 seconds long or something that gives you feedback as to what was wrong with that answer, or what the right answer was, and so on. And then it says, click here to move on to question 2 in this case. Okay, so we move on. That was question 1. Here's a second question about what you just saw. In this case, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change conducts leading-edge research on the impacts of global warming. True or false? Oh, let's say that we think that that's false. And, oh, great, that is the right answer. Watch this following video to see why. And it will tell you, hey, this is what you did right, this is what you did wrong, or whatever. And when you are ready to move on, then you can move on to part 2 of the lecture. And in this case, as long as you just keep moving through sequentially like that, you'll get to see all, in this case, 5 parts to this lecture. Again, at this point here, I start talking on the video, and I talk for maybe another 5 or 6 minutes before I interrupt again and say, hey, but before we move on, I mean, if I were in a classroom with you in a traditional setting, I'd be stopping and asking questions and so on. It makes it more like that. Now, of course, along the way, you'd be stopping me and asking questions too, right? You'd be raising your hands. That's what this whole new green box over here that I'm experimenting with this semester is over here. If you have a question, I want to know, don't wait, ask now. Yes, don't wait. So, pause the video, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different mechanisms to get a hold of me. And in some browsers, it doesn't show that you can click on these things. I don't know why that is. But so, like, if you want to call me, click on the phone. It says between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., you can call me at, and there's my phone number. Okay? I will gladly take your call. Now, I can't necessarily guarantee I can talk right then, but I can at least say, hey, I can call you back in half an hour. Is that okay? All right? Or you can click over here and find out how to text me. Or you can click on here and find out how to email me. Now, not only is that how to email me, but it actually shows you right here. It'll go right to my phone, and if you put the word question in the subject line, it will actually, I have it like a little plug-in installed on there. It will come right to the top of the list and on my email in red, and won't let me move on until I answer that one. Okay? So, I mean, in contrast to being lost in the shuffle of zillions of other email messages, you'll be at the top of the list, and I can't go on until I take care of you. I think you'll find that that's helpful. You can also do Google Hangouts. I'm just sitting here in my office all day, every day, pretty much. If you like, I can do it, we can chat, or we can actually do the video chat, or whatever works for you. I love Google Hangouts. I'm kind of a Google guy. I also have the same sort of thing set up for Skype, and all that information is there. You have no shortage of ways to get a hold of me. Except for the fact that I know that people often will be doing this stuff at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Do not call me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't call me at 8 o'clock at night, okay? I got 2 little kids. I got to be putting kids to bed and giving them baths and stuff like that. Make time that you're watching these lectures something time during business hours, okay? Make it your habit that you are watching these lectures. Look at your own schedule and say, I'm going to treat this like a Tuesday, Thursday at 12 o'clock class. And I'm just going to watch those. I'm going to make it my plan. I watch every Tuesday and Thursday. I watch the lecture at noon. That way, if at 12:05 you have a question, pause the video and call me. I can answer the phone at 12:05 on a Tuesday, Thursday. That's not a problem. All right? Don't be doing this stuff at 11 o'clock at night. Well, I can't stop you from doing it at 11 o'clock at night. I just can't answer your phone at 11 o'clock at night. All right? All right. So anyway, this is how you navigate then through all these lectures here. That's a fairly typical lecture. Notice there's a sidebar over here on the left side that you could use as like a shortcut to get around in there. Notice it always gives you an estimate as to how long each of the lectures are. Most of the lectures are sized to be approximately the same as what amount of time we would be spending if we were in the classroom. If this were a Tuesday, Thursday class, we'd have 75 minutes in the classroom. Most of the lectures are somewhere around 60, 65 minutes, something like that. A few are a little bit longer, because we have a little more flexibility. So some of them are more like 80 minutes or something like that, but some are a little shorter. It doesn't really matter. We're a little bit flexible on our time then. So this is what a typical lecture will look like, okay? As far as how you navigate through it or whatever in Blue Line. There's absolutely nothing I can do to make you do that. Oh, by the way, when you answer those questions along the way in the lecture, you know, with all those little YouTube videos and so on, I have no mechanism to know what you answered. Okay, you're not getting graded on that. That's just sort of like helping you know how you're doing. Did you hear that right? Did you understand that point? That's purely for your feedback there on those questions. They're not for anything. I wouldn't know how to set it up so that it was recording what YouTube video you clicked on. Okay? All right, if any of that stuff does not work as advertised, immediately let me know. I'm pretty good about making sure that all the links work, but things go wrong. Okay? Alright, so anyway, you're going to keep moving on through here and so on. Notice that in each of the modules there will be two discussions, a discussion A and a discussion B. And remember, each of those discussions that Creighton requires that we have works in such a way that you first make an original post to the discussion where you answer the questions that I posed or express your opinion or whatever. And then a day or two later you go back and you look through other students' original posts and you respond. And you can't just respond like saying, hey, I agree, or that's a stupid thing to say. You have to actually advance the discussion. We can talk more about that as time goes by, but you need to like provide examples, or provide challenging questions, or give a counter-argument, or something like that. None of this has to be huge. You don't have to think about this as like writing pages and pages and pages. Think of it as more like a paragraph or two, okay? And they are graded. Remember, discussions are part of your grade. They plus the quizzes come together about 35% or something like that of your total grade in the course. All right. Anyway, I don't have one up yet. I'm still working on it, but there'll be a review sheet as well as like a review video associated with before you take any of the exams. I just don't have all of it uploaded to Blue Line yet. All right. Well, I think this is going to work out really well. Let me go ahead and just tell you one quick thing about how all this kind of has to work around the schedule. Part of the story as to why it's complicated to make my online classes work via Skype, where we all are just chatting on Skype, is that my schedule's a little bit complicated. One of my two kids, he's great, and he has cerebral palsy, and he needs a lot of therapy. I am gone about, I think he has about 6 or 7 therapies a week nowadays. All right, so I am running him over to physical therapy or over to speech therapy or something like that. Kind of a lot. And that would be a complication in our lives and our schedules if I was a professor teaching in a traditional classroom, right? We'd have to work around the fact that it's life. I mean, Creighton wants me to take him to therapy, right? And so, we're not going to skip therapy because I have office hours or something like that, right? So, not that he has therapy at the time of those office hours, but the point of the matter is, if you call, and I want you to call when you have questions, or if you bring up Google Chat, well, there's a real chance that I am sitting in a waiting room at physical therapy, and that's okay. Never feel like you are causing a problem if I tell you, hey, I can't take your call right now because I'm getting messages from my kid's physical therapist or something like that. No, that's just part of how we adapt, okay? It's okay to text me, and I'm bored sitting in a waiting room while my kids get therapy, okay? It's not that big of a deal. All right. So anyway, so we're going to make this all work, and this is going to be a great class. I am really enthusiastic about it. This is only the second time I've taught this course, and the first time was a real thrill. We learned all kinds of neat things about the climate and also what students knew and didn't know. I mean, first time you teach a course, you don't necessarily even really know where the students are, like what courses have they had and how much did they learn in those courses. I think we're really at a sweet spot now with this course. I think you guys are going to learn a lot. All right. Anyway, that's the end of this quick lecture on YouTube. And please let me know if you have any questions. And by Tuesday, you need to have completed the activities associated with Lecture 1B. Now again, I can't really force you to watch the video. There's no way I can force you to watch the video. But staying on track and getting your questions answered and having the information from the lectures to participate in the videos is how you thrive in a course. Okay? All right. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a good semester.